And good afternoon. This is Dr. Kimberly Barrington, and you are rolling on the road live with Dr. Kimberly and Dave. Dave is on assignment today, and we do apologize. People have been saying, "Are you guys going on today?" We are here. We are late, and sometimes our schedules get a little mixed up. So we want to say thank you so much for taking the time. Um, we are honoring veterans every Tuesday this month on Rolling on the Road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave, because one day surely is not enough to celebrate those and honor those who have defended our country, those who have just left Afghanistan, and from those who have done it in times past. Yes, everybody loves a hero and everybody loves when you're on active duty. But unfortunately, when you become a veteran, life does take you through some changes. Um, I am so honored to have artist Pamela Alderman with us today for as briefly as she'll be on or as time allows for her schedule. But we chose you today because it's not often that there are people who capture the true stories of those persons who have served, what it looks like holistically, not just for the veteran, but for their family members as well, whether it is a spouse, a significant other, whether it is a life partner, or it's their children, or extended family, grandparents, cousins, uncles. They don't always understand the life of a person who has served, especially if you have been served, during a conflict time, even if you didn't have, conflict, there are just certain elements that exist when you serve your country, especially if you are in a disenfranchised, population, being a woman or being a person of color, or if you are a person who's gay. Serving definitely brings on some challenges. And I have on my t-shirt today, it's called the Yellow Ribbon Project. Woohoo! That I think it in the height and in the thick of the pandemic, I received an email and this wonderful package left at my door saying that you have been selected to participate in the Yellow Ribbon Project. And so it was divided into many different pieces. And if you could tell us a little bit about that and how that came about, we would really love it.
Thank you, Dr. Kimberly. It's a real honor to be on your show, and thank you for your patience. It's really my fault of being late, so thank you for your gracious response, and for your audience too and their patience. Thank you. Sometimes life happens, and I guess today was one of those days. So I am a veteran wife. My husband served as a naval officer for 20 years. I'm a military mom, and our youngest son is in the military, and our son-in-law is also currently serving. I think he served something around 14 years. So the military family means a lot to me. And I'm an artist. And I'm really excited that you have on your Yellow Ribbon t-shirt. And that's a real honor. Thank you. And the Yellow Ribbon Project. So I was invited by Kent County Veteran Services to collaborate with them, to partner with them, and to make the Yellow Ribbon. And it was a wooden sculpture, 3D sculpture piece that was 3 separate trees. And they are abstract trees that fit together. The pieces sort of like a big, huge puzzle, 3D puzzle. Mm-hmm. And they're broken trees, and they kind of represent the hard parts of the military life when people, like you said, have combat experiences, come back broken, or families or relationships go through hard times with just the unique culture that is part of being in the military. Lots of moves, lots of pulling children in and out of schools, things that are hard on families. So for this project, we involved the entire West Michigan community, and we had lots of workshops all through, we started pre-pandemic, And then the pandemic happened, so we had to just adapt. But as the military people, we have to do that anyways, just adapt and reorganize and have a new plan. But basically the community sponge painted papers, metallic papers, and then they helped do the background of the trees, and they tore these papers and helped collage them on these big, huge wooden tree structures. So one 6 or maybe 9 foot by 9 foot tree structure, and the other two were 6 foot by 6 foot. And then I also helped sponge paint as well. And then I took some of those papers and I did paper mosaic paintings of military scenes, soldiers, people had served. Also, one of the paintings was a woman's sort of like an abstract expression of her PTSD experience, or you could even say / military sexual trauma experience. So that was one layer of the trees. Then I also interviewed military members, veterans, and their comments, their feelings, their statements, and then those were also collaged onto the trees. So the trees had their how they felt about their service, hard things, and really grateful and happy things. The trees all had a yellow ribbon. It was done with the paper mosaic, but there was a yellow band around each tree. And that represented that military tradition, especially on the East Coast, when your loved one comes back from being deployed or serving, to tie yellow ribbon around their trees.
Tie a yellow ribbon around the old tree. Tony, Orlando, and Dawn.
Exactly. You have to be old enough. Yeah, you have to be old enough. Like 20-year-olds are like, well, what? They have no idea.
Oh my gosh, that's like one of my favorite songs on the top 20, list for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm dating myself a little bit.
So this was all shown. Then my piece was shown. This community piece was shown at Art Prize in Grand Rapids. And Art Prize is this gigantic art festival / competition where about 1,400 artists from across the world all come and compete for this giant Art Prize. And up to, through the years, up to 600,000 visitors might come to Grand Rapids to view the artwork. So it's a fun time. It's a busy time. It's a very lively time. And so the piece was unveiled and shown at Art Prize and Veterans Memorial Park in Grand Rapids. Now we had one more component where I added, this was the Yellow Ribbon Project, where we had yellow mesh around actual live trees in the park. And then the audience members were invited to write a message of hope, a message of healing, an encouraging, inspiring message on the yellow ribbons. They could tie them onto this mesh around these big, huge trees. And then after our prize, the Blue Star moms, who are moms of military members, they took these ribbons and sent them to veterans and to soldiers that are deployed just as an encouragement. Well, we got over 10,000 ribbons signed by the Art Prize audience. So we had a lot of ribbons. Yeah. There's one more component to Art Prize. I don't know if you want me to go into this, but where I co-curated Veterans Memorial Park for the other artists, the other veterans, did you want me to go into that piece as well?
What I do want to say is I appreciate those who, when they think of art, they think of veterans and their experiences, and just the expression that you were able to capture in the Yellow Ribbon Project was just phenomenal. And I did not realize until, as I was prepping for you to be on the show during our prize, I think it was like that last week.
Oh, right.
And we kind of missed each other. That it was, I want to say it had to be in 2012, because I was still walking in 2012. Yeah, in 2012. There was another artist who did one on female veterans who have served. And what an honor it was for me to be a part of that project. It was called Walk a Mile in Her Boots. And so each one of us, we took one of our old military boots, decorated it, and put like our story just on one of our boots. And then there was a picture that was taken of us. So it was red, white, and blue. So 4 people wore red, 4 people wore white, and 4 people wore blue tops. And we took the picture, and then just the way they were all put together, and then our stories were underneath, and then our boots. It traveled for a good 3 or 4 years. That all over the state of Michigan, a few places outside of the state of Michigan. So it was just an honor, but someone gave voice to our story. And one of the exhibits that was there at that time in 2012, it was one of my top favorites, and it was A Wing and a Prayer. And it was all of these little origamis that were made, and the whole room was filled with these origamis with prayer requests that were going up to the clouds, going into the sky, and it was like, a wing and a prayer. Lo and behold, how did I find, as I'm doing my research, as I always do, for our guests, that was Pamela Alderman. I just was like, OMG, as the kids would say, OMG, that was just phenomenal to me.
Yeah.
It just, to capture it, the people who came in, some did, I wrote a few of my own little prayers on there, because there was an opportunity to just take a Post-it, a yellow Post-it note, because the origami, they were yellow. And then you could take a yellow Post-it note and just kind of paste it, up on there. And your prayers were just going up. And that was the first thing I thought when I saw your project, the yellow ribbon, because it was initially placed on the Blue Bridge by Grand Valley before Art Prize opened up. And there was a special ceremony with that. And to read the stories. And the first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, I thought about the Wing and a Prayer when I first saw it, but didn't know that you were the artist behind that until after the fact, when I was going to have you on the show, like that last week, of Art Prize. And I think that we talk about the soldier, we talk about the veteran, but we don't talk about the person that supports them through it. And so I gained such a respect and a deep love that you'll never understand, and probably think, even with our little conversation just a few minutes ago before, like, oh my God, I'm coming on, that I feel for you. Because I tell you, in a world and in the time that we're living in, and people are just being so selfish, as it relates to masking up and being vaccinated, and people, I got my rights. And I'm like, what does that really look like? But for someone to take a whole community of people that at times can be marginalized, and people don't realize that, and to capture a heartfelt love and respect. I'm not crying today. I'm not crying today. I just got my lashes on just right before the show. I'm not trying to cry them off, but it just says a lot. It says a lot. The love and the care in which you're telling people's story with this project. Yeah. We want to say thank you so much for Maddie. She's tuning in today. She says, how are you guys? We're doing well. Thank you for tuning in. She is in Arkansas. So thank you so much for being so patient. I know that we were late, and I tell you, and that you still waited and you tuned in, and I thank you so much, all the way in Arkansas. Thank you, Maddie. And thank you to Amber, who watches via YouTube. Hey, who says that, hey, are you guys not coming on today? So thank you so much for reaching out and for watching us and being so faithful a viewer on YouTube. Um, but what is it for you? I know you're a mom. I know you're a wife. But aside from that, Pamela Alderman, what's the driving force on the inside um, to hear the stories? Because I read some of the things that were on the tree. They were very personal,
Mhm.
very personal.
Mhm.
And what is it that's in you that you're able to draw something out like that? That I'm sure that some of the things that I saw on that tree, people probably have never said out loud.
Mhm.
And the trust that they had to have in you to even verbalize it.
Mhm. Dr. Kimberly, your words have been extremely gracious. Thank you so much. And I could feel, your heart. Thank you. Maddie and Amber, that you were so patient. Thank you so much. It means so much. And that you would give me this time. So suffering is universal, but it comes in all different shapes and sizes and times. And for me, my parents divorced. They separated when I was in middle school. They divorced when I was in college. And it was a time where I felt like I had lost everything, like everything. Like when you lose your family, it doesn't matter your socioeconomic level. It doesn't matter your skin color. It doesn't matter. Like nothing matters. You've lost your family. And so I understand loss. That's one sort of loss. I mean, I'm 63 years old. I've experienced plenty of losses in my life, but that was a significant loss in my childhood. And so I understand loneliness, I understand pain, and I understand feeling like there's no hope. And so some of my art pieces through the years, like Wing and a Prayer, is my expression of, like I found hope. And Wing and a Prayer was one of those ways that I a steps towards healing and steps towards hope. And, that Wing and a Prayer that expressed my heart and my experience of finding hope. So when the soldiers, people do trust me, and they do entrust me with their stories. And some of those stories or when they shared them, the tears that were shed, or, just the emotion that I felt, I tried to express that emotion through the art because it's honoring. I'm trying to honor the collaborator. These people are collaborating with me. They're partnering with me. They're entrusting their stories, and they want to. I mean, they're coming to me and they want to share their story. And then I'm trying to communicate to the audience through art, and so it's a real honor, and it's a sacred trust. And I want to, represent them well. And I feel so grateful that they were part of the artwork, and they actually empower the art. Like I'm just like the tool, like the person holding the paintbrush, or the person, holding the pen when I help write their stories. But they're part of the art. They are the artists as well. And they are putting their heart and soul into this piece. And then you have the audience. And then when the audience connects with that, you've got the artist kind of behind the scenes, you've got that storyteller, that veteran, and then you have the audience. And all of that comes together to empower that art and to communicate from the very initial part of sharing to the part of receiving. And that's all part of the artwork. And all parts are needed for the artwork. It's not just the artist, it's not just the storyteller, it's not just the audience. You need it all to have that impact. So I like to empower people through my art, and I like to touch the hearts of the audience so they can understand. And like you said, walking a mile in your boots. And I was like, oh, what amazing. I wish I would have seen that. But the power of,
I have pictures. I can
yeah. The power of empathy.
Pictures.
the power of empathy and understanding others. And that's part of this Yellow Ribbon Project, is understanding what veterans went through. And then veterans started reading what other veterans wrote. And one veteran said he just broke down, realizing that what he felt in his heart felt so isolating. So, he felt so odd, or he felt so, like he's the only one. And then he starts reading the messages on the trees. It's like, oh my goodness, everyone else was feeling just like me. And there's healing in that, because he realized he wasn't the only one.
I think that as humans, and I know that you're a believer, and we can have these conversations. And I think one of the tricks of the enemy is to always make us feel as if we are alone, and that and to isolate us, and that nobody else is experiencing this, and to add shame, guilt, condemnation to our experiences. And for someone to be able to be trusted and entrusted with our truth, and then displayed in a way that brings healing and reconciliation, is truly a gift from God. I mean, it's not something that just happens haphazardly, because there is such a trust that has to be given, experienced, and received in order to have a project like this have the impact that it needs to have. When you say, okay, I know I was given this, I know this is what I am to do, but at the end of the day, it wasn't, okay, I'm just doing this so that my name is amongst the list of those who have been artists to be associated with Art Prize, because there is a notoriety that is there, to say, oh, I submitted a piece for Art Prize, because it goes down in history. It becomes a part of our historical culture, and your name will forever, be there. But that's not what I perceived from you. Even when I received, my part to do with the Yellow Project, and here it is, it was in the height of the pandemic. We didn't know how it was being transmitted. We did not know, there wasn't a vaccination, and nobody even really thought, like, well, do we vaccinate against this, or what do we need to do? There was so many lies and people taking advantage of the time and of the situation. And here it was, but we're all isolated, one from another. One from another.
Mm-hmm.
And then here comes this bag on my door. We couldn't even, I couldn't even receive it, because it had to be left outside. And, you got to give it so much time, and then you got to spray it down. And, just. And then to open up the bag and know that on top of everything else that I was feeling, now here comes all of the PTSD. And it's all in this big emotional pot. And yet there was hope. When you think about yellow, you think about brightness, sunshine, you think about hope, a beautiful day that you can just make it, and that there were others, because the instructions said there were other people who participated, and this was their part. And now, you get to do your part. And then from here, it'll go here. And then this is what it's going to look like at the end. And the way we were all connected back to each other, that I am not alone. I am not the only one that experienced this. And how we all that took part in that segment, at a time where we were socially distanced and quarantined one from another. And that's not how humans live. We don't live that way.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to be the igniter, you were igniter. And you probably didn't even associate yourself with with that word, and maybe you didn't even think about it. You know, it was just like, okay, I got this project, and oh my God, now there's a pandemic. How do I get this finished? And you know, are we going to be able to do this? You know, because we couldn't do it last year in public, and they decided, okay, yep, there's enough folks vaccinated, we can do that, and they're outside, and let's just have most of the venues outside, and they're like, we're going to do this. What are the thoughts in that moment? What are the thoughts?
So it was a challenge to keep moving forward because the project had started before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, like I said, we want to adapt. But I also realized, like in my own heart, I hadn't seen my grandchildren for months, and the loneliness I was feeling there, and like the disconnect. I'm a social person, like you've been saying, we're all social people. I'm an extrovert, and now we're all hiding out in our homes, which of course we were supposed to shelter in place. But I kept thinking of, it felt like a time where if you already were feeling isolated, and maybe a time where you were feeling hopeless. It's like the world is falling apart. And so I wanted to keep the art moving to give people hope. I wanted to keep the art moving forward safely. Like you said, we delivered packages at people's doors because at that point in the pandemic, we still couldn't meet together
At all.
Yeah. So but to give people something to do, to give people something creative and beautiful to make, to be part of something bigger than themselves, to help people feel like they could still make a difference, even though they're now sheltering in place in their homes. So all of that was intentional. And I was thinking of my own feelings of being home, feeling isolated, feeling discouraged. And so part of it for me was also to lift my heart, to keep things moving, to still have a forward movement, feel like you're still, doing something significant in life instead of just, watching, movies on your computer all day long, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I needed more. Yeah, I needed more to encourage my own soul. And as I was listening to my friends around me, and I thought, so this is so one way, like you just said, we could stay connected, and we could be creative, and we could still be inspiring and encouraging. So those were some of the thoughts of, and then later in the summer, we were able then we could meet outside. So we couldn't still meet inside. So everyone had a separate table. We all had masks. We're 6 feet apart. So each part of the pandemic, we just kept trying to adapt and to stay within, the state rules, but still touch people in the sense of connecting, not maybe physical touch, but still connecting, so people didn't feel just stranded or lonely, isolated, depressed.
I appreciate you. I do. And what an honor. So many people, their story never gets told. And it should be told. And I don't believe that our experiences are just unto ourselves, but we experience them so that we can assist others. A baby doesn't learn to walk because it knows how to walk. A baby starts walking because he sees everybody else walking. A baby doesn't talk. It has the capability to speak, but doesn't until we teach it, to speak. Say mama, say dada, please, thank you. And so, we come with the capability, but we have to have that interaction. We have to be taught. And wow, this project was just phenomenal to me. And so we never know how to go through unless we hear about someone who has been an overcomer. We just think like this is all it is. I'm just like, I have the little Yorkie poo, and every now and again, I let his tail grow long, and it gets up on him, and he's like, "Ooh, something touched me." Okay, and then you just see him just going around in this little circle, chasing his tail, and it's hilarious to me. My husband's like, "What's wrong with that dog?" I don't know, but I think it's entertaining. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. It's entertaining me. But as humans, we will do that. We'll chase our own tail, or be so entwined in our own, sufferings and going through that we don't ever stop to say, "Oh, wait a minute, there's somebody else that might be going through the same thing, and they might need a little help." And then, just to even read the stories or to hear how other children felt, or how spouses or significant others or partners, to have their voice as a part of this, to say, I didn't know how to help. And then we had an opportunity to meet somebody. So grateful. So honored to have my t-shirt. Come t-shirt, t-shirt. This is not one of those t-shirts, oh, I've got a t-shirt for it. Go throw it away, give it away. No. This is one of those t-shirts that you keep, you embrace, and it reminds you that you are not alone. And that we're all connected, and our stories are important. Our voices are important. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for giving our community that, I like to say, people, when I first came back home, that I was an inside outside person. I said, what does that mean? They like to say, is you from here? You can't be from here because you different. What does that mean? But I joined the military at 17, and I came back at 28. So I wasn't driving when I left, and I was still in my mother's home. And to come back as an adult and bring children too, and a husband, and it was different. Coming back as a soldier, a wounded one at that. To come back into the community, and the difficulty that I had, because in the Navy, you're even more closed of a community than the other branches, because we're on ships. And so you have a floating community that doesn't have to come in if it doesn't want to. That's designed to spend 6 months away from everyone, and it's fully contained. And so to come to a community where everybody is so separated, you have your own space. And so I appreciated the project, because it brought me and others, when I read what they wrote, back into a community that we could trust and felt comfortable in. Because really, when you're in the military, you don't have to deal with civilians if you do not want to. Even especially with the Navy, I don't know what it's like for any other place, but once you come onto the base, you don't have to leave. We have our own stores, we have our own churches, we have beautiful, edifices, and they even contracted with McDonald's and put a McDonald's on on the base, and you have childcare located on there. They even have drop off. They have long term. They even have, if you need to do a drop off because your sitter can't do it, and okay, yeah, they're taking a vacation, whatever it is. The base was fully contained. You go to work, everything you need is right there. You can buy a uniform, you can order a watch, even get wedding rings, and yeah.
Yeah, my wedding rings from the base.
You see what I'm saying? You can buy anniversary gifts. They have wonderful, anniversary gifts. You just never have to leave, and you're in such a close community. And then when you make that transition to civilian life, it's like, oh, y'all don't like each other out here? Y'all don't hang out? We even have our own, clubs. So if you want to go to that's our form of a country club. If you want to go to the club, you have a drink, and they have food there, get something to eat, and You just never have to leave that community. It's fully contained, and yeah, to become a part of the civilian world is a big change.
Yes.
After 5, 10, or 20 years or
Yeah.
30 years of service, and you're just like, wow, you guys don't hang out together?
Yeah.
If we go out to sea, we know that all the spouses that stay behind, they know how to go to the base to be able to send messages out to us while we're out to sea, and send wonderful videos and pictures and things. And they've gotten real fancy now. So it just did something for me. Yeah. To feel like, yeah, this is my community. This is what I know. This is where I grew up. 17 to 28.
Wow.
That's where you learn a lot.
Wow.
They say the light's supposed to come on by the time you're 30. So they say. But I want to say thank you. Thank you for a wing and a prayer. You've got some other projects, but that wing and a prayer is how I had to live my life sometimes. We just ride on a wing and a prayer right now. But to come back and you found a way. And thank you for finding a way. Anything you want to say? She's just sitting here like, oh my gosh.
I love your reflections, and it's very encouraging. Wing and a Prayer touched a lot of people. A lot of tears were shed in that gallery space, but hope as well. People felt a sense of hope that they could write a wish or a prayer for a child in need, and then hang it on that wall. And as those little transparent papers with silver writing on them traveled up the wall, then they transformed into those 4,000 paper birds that just soared across the ceiling out that 5-foot window.
Man,
giving hope wings.
I have pictures.
Yeah.
I took pictures.
So 20,000 people filled out a wish or a prayer for a child in need. The piece was focused on children that had autism, but it was anybody, so it was bigger than just that, but that was the focus of the piece. And with every single art installation, that all these public interactive art installations that I create and design, they talk about hard things. They talk about difficult things in life, because that's real as well. But then the piece always sort of turns towards hope. And because I want to leave people with hope, because we need hope to get through our hard times. And as a military spouse, well, we weren't on the ships, or we weren't, in the deployed situations, but we might be on an isolated base. And one of those bases, there's no FaceTime, there's no computers, there's no smartphones. And I'm just seeing tumbleweeds blowing across my lawn every day. And I felt alone, and I felt lonely. And so we reached out to one another on our street, we lived on base. We became the lifeline. When it's 114 degrees, you live in a desert situation. And I wasn't familiar with living like that, so far from home. And so our husband, in my situation, my husband was working long hours. So we had to reach out, the women on the base, like we needed each other to survive and to be encouraged. So, I was living that in my life, and my husband and I, we started weekly dinners with officer, enlisted, everyone, like you said, all the different types of people. They all came to our house because we needed one another to get through those experiences. And I think I just try now to live those same experiences through my art, to draw people in and to encourage them.
Yeah. So Tony Scott just tuned in. Thank you so much for tuning in, Tony. And she wanted to know what the topic is. Well, November 11th is the day that they celebrate all veterans for having served. And they give honor to those who are still on active duty, but it is designed to honor our veterans for having served. And so all month long on Let's Talk About It Tuesdays, because one day is not enough, we are celebrating veterans. And so last week we started with Tina Edmondson, who does peer support for veterans, along with work with the VA for veterans who are going into what they call the independent living. So if you have been in vocational rehabilitation, that means you have to have a minimum of a 10% service connected disability, and your disability is such that it precludes you from, let's say, doing a job that you could have done if you just came back, off of, active duty, and you may need some extra training to do something different. Then you can participate in voc rehab. If, like myself, you end up having another type of disability, which I was 3 classes away from graduating with my master's through voc rehab, I had a massive stroke in the middle of it. And so I had the stroke in October, was hospitalized, required, deep intense, when you first have your stroke, just the intensity of the services that you need. I was notified by like that January that I would no longer be able to participate in voc rehab, but would have to go to a different type of program, and it's called independent living. And so they partner you with Disability Advocates of Kent County. You have 24 months to, you create a plan, and you have 24 months to execute it. And they have Disability Advocates of Kent County to walk you through the process of how your life has to change now that you have a different type of disability, whereas mine landed me in a wheelchair. And so I had to learn everything all over again, because now I only have one half of my body that's working. So I had someone that came in every single day to assist with my daily activities of living and whatever modifications I needed for my home. If I needed to get a new home, they really walked through the whole process. And even down to providing me with technology to make sure that I could stay connected to my community and whatever else that I needed to do. And through that process, there's like 2 or 3 different components that the VA partners with Disability Advocates of Kent County, but this one in particular, it's called the Independent Living Program. So we had them on first. And today, this is our second week of doing it. We have artist Pam Alderman, and I love and appreciate her because there are so many stories that are untold by veterans, their family, their children, anyone who is associated with a veteran, some of the things that they experience while on active duty. And then when they come home, she was able to capture it in, my t-shirt, the Yellow Ribbon Project. And it was an art prize of 2021. And, I was honored because I got to participate. Yes. to put the pieces together. And so on next week, we'll have Reggie, who is a peer support that works with the Healthcare for Homeless Veterans and helps them with services. And so he'll be on next week. And then the week after that, we have a female veteran who is in the LGBT community, and what her experience was being gay, a female being gay while serving on active duty, and since she has gotten out. And then it will conclude or culminate on Tuesday, November 30th, where the Michigan, yes, I'm so excited, the Michigan Veterans Agency Director, Ms. Zanetta Adams, will close us out. So she is the first female and first African American to hold that position in the state of Michigan. So I'm so excited. So we have a great month, rest of the month planned. But we want to say thank you so much, Pamela, for coming on today.
Thank
And
you.
you guys need to look her up. It's Pamela, Pamela, and it's scrolling along the bottom. Alderman is her last name. All you gotta do is put it in Google, because you know Google tell you everything. Google it.
Yes, there are no
Just,
secrets.
just Google it. I think that's funny. The first time I Googled my own name, I said, "Oh my God,
Yes.
all this is out there about that word." It was putting stuff out about me. But yes, if you just Google her, Pamela Alderman, her name is scrolling along the bottom, and you will see all of her artwork, not just the one from 2021, but I believe since the inception of Art Prize, you have been in it every year except for 1 year.
No, every year. All 11 years.
There's a year missing though.
Well,
So,
because Art Prize was canceled that year.
So there's a year missing.
Yeah, Art Prize was canceled in 2020, so no Art Prize in 2020.
So yes. See, I did my research.
Yeah, good for you.
I did my research.
Yeah. At 2 years, 2019, they didn't do Art Prize that year. They did Project One, and then 2020 with the pandemic, it was canceled. So we were thrilled that they came back for Art Prize 2021.
And I'm telling you, just look her up and you'll see all of her art. My two favorite are Winging a Prayer and the Yellow Ribbon Project.
Thank you so much.
But not just because I participated in the Yellow Ribbon. No, not just because I participated. But you gave voice. And even though the project was started prior to the pandemic, you gave us something that I felt was taken away, which was, the camaraderie, the unity, and being able to be in each other's spaces. You gave it to us another way, because we were told that, you know what, we got to sequester, got to be quarantined alone. And if you didn't have anybody, well, yeah.
Yeah, it was hard.
But to receive, the bag and to participate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for having me on your show, Dr. Kimberly.
And again, this is Dr. Kimberly Barrington with Rolling on the Roll with Dr. Kimberly and Dave. Thank you so much for tuning in. We want to say thank you so much to Disability Advocates of Kent County and to 100 Shades of Diversibility, who sponsor us to do what it is best, bring you all the latest and the greatest of what is happening in your neck of the woods. Yes, Al Roker. Yeah, I like him first thing in the morning. But please tune in on next Tuesday on Let's Talk About It Tuesday, and we will have Mr. Reginald Leon Howard, who is peer support with the Healthcare for Homeless Veterans. So if you haven't been vaccinated, please, if you're able to be vaccinated, please get your vaccination. And if you cannot, I ask that you please mask up, protect yourself and others. All right, until next week, you guys be safe, and we love and appreciate you.